And today we are going to learn how to create a silk painting. I'm excited about that.
Join us today, Elise Wilding, who's holding a silk painting class in Idaho Falls. Elise, thank you for joining us today. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about silk painting.
Well, you start out with a raw piece of silk and you stretch it like you see here, so it's kind of tight, almost like a trampoline. And then, as you can see, I've drawn some lines down here, and I do this with a resist, kind of like a wax. It works kind of the same way it would if you were doing a batik. Mm-hmm. And so what the wax does is contain the dye. So I've done part of this, but if you're going to put this down and you can just hold it there and see how it just fills in that area.
It really does. So you're not going all the way to the lines. You're letting it kind of meet the lines because it kind of blends out.
Right. So you just put it down and then let it go to the edge. Oops. And if you get too close, that's what happens.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been silk painting for about, probably about 17 years now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What got you into it?
I was living in Vancouver, Washington, and I was at Kinko's making some copies of some drawings that I'd done. Had a lady come up to me and start rifling through my drawings, and she said, "Wow, would you come do some volunteer work for the city?" So through a series of meetings with engineers and different artists, they decided they wanted these big silk banners, and I'd never even heard of silk painting, even though I studied commercial art at school. I'd never heard of it, and so I said, "Oh, sure, I can do that," and kind of jumped in, and it was not, it wasn't the easiest thing to learn on my own. I would definitely suggest having someone kind of hold your hand through the beginning steps of learning it.
Now I see, it looks like, is that salt, rock salt that you have?
I use all different types of salt, and when you put the salt on, what it does is it kind of scoops up the dye and creates these really neat textures in here, and you never know exactly what the dye is going to do, so that's part of my favorite.
It's kind of a surprise.
It's a surprise. You never know exactly how it's going to end up.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So this kind of seems like a painting, but yet staining.
Right. It's dyeing. It's kind of a cross between watercolor and batik.
Okay.
Is the way I like to look at it.
So what are your canvases normally like as far as size-wise? Because we have one of your creations here.
To show this.
It is ginormous.
Gorgeous. It is, and I'm working. I actually started out a lot larger than this. My first silk painting that I ever did was about 11 feet long and 3 feet wide, and so I've kind of come down in size.
Oh,
so this over here is kind of a typical piece that I would do. Something like this is more like what you would expect to do in one of my classes. Maybe not quite this large, but this is. So I brought this to kind of show the type of thing I'll be teaching in my class. This is a good basic silk painting that anybody could do, artistic or not.
As far as a time frame, start to finish, how long does it take you?
Oh, well.
Does that depend on skill?
Probably, yeah, it kind of depends on skill. Probably for me, I could maybe do this in an hour or two. Somebody else, probably a couple days, just depending on your level of.
Now you said, like, depending on skill, it doesn't really matter. Someone could do, like, I don't know if I could do this. So, you know, what's your, how do you get the ideas for your different designs and how you do that? I mean, obviously you have training in the arts.
I do. Well, when I teach a class, the students, you know, depending on how artistic they are, they can do their own drawings, or I have drawings for them, because the classes I teach, it's about the silk painting and the process. It's not about the design and the drawing at that point. And so I help them through their drawings. And so that's kind of how we do the classes. And in mine, you know, each painting kind of builds on the previous one, experiences I have, dreams I have, and you know, custom orders from people. They kind of take me in different directions with where I'm going with my paintings.
So if somebody would like to learn how to do this, you're having a class in Idaho Falls. When is that class?
That class is October 6th in Idaho Falls.
Okay, and if they'd like to schedule the time to come see you and come join your class, how do they get a hold of you?
Probably the best way is go to my email, elise@artist-large.com.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Very good. Beautiful. You're very talented.
Thank you.
It's really cool. So.
All right.
Okay.
Good job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stay